I'm going to show you how to use the Google Maps API with JavaScript. So to start, first you need a Google developer account. So make sure you have one of those set up. And you might have to create a Google developer or a Google project. I'll get into that. I'll show you what that looks like. So here I'm at the Google Maps page, right? If you just Google for Google Maps, you should find this. And what you want to do is go to the Google Maps JavaScript API. And we're going to do just this simple tutorial called create a map with a marker. This should at least get your feet wet with how to use the API with JavaScript. Once we get into it, you could just look at the documentation and figure out how to do everything. However, this video is going to show kind of just how to get started with your API key. So there's a code snippet we're going to use and demonstrate that it works. Here, there's a little part of the code where you input your API key. Okay, so this is your Google Developer API key. You should have a link like this. If you don't, then you might not be logged in. I'm not sure. When you click this, I'm going to click it now. It'll say insert a credential. So I can choose from my many projects, my many Google developer projects. There's also a link to go to the developer console. So I want to show you what that looks like here. When you create a Google developer account, you should have access to a console. This link brought me to specifically the credentials, right? And I do know that Google's interface might not be very intuitive, so that's why I led you through this link, and you might not even have this link. Though I do want you to get to console-developersgoogle.com and get to the credentials. This is my project. It's called The Remix, so you can create a project called Hackathon or whatever. Use that project, create a credential, and I want an API key. And here it is. So I'm going to copy it, right, copy, and that's what I'll use for this. Right, so here, insert, and there you go. I could have just pasted it into the code, and I'm going to just copy the whole thing right now. All right, so copy this piece of code, go into a new directory. There's nothing in here, so open up your favorite editor like Sublime Text. Let's create an index.html and just paste it like this. Okay. So here's my key. So this is the API key I'm using to access the Google API, the Google Maps API. So let's look at what it's doing. There's an inline script here with initialize map. Let's see, some latitude, longitude. And I guess this is the name of a place. Let's find out. This is a new Google Maps marker, so it's using the Google Maps namespace, and this marker is a class that we're instantiating a new marker, setting its position to this map instance of a map. Wait, no, to this latitude, longitude. Yeah, so it's just this latitude, longitude, and we're setting the map to be our map. The first argument to map is going to be this DOM element. So we're saying get element by ID map, and there's a DOM element here with an ID map. So this says load a new map and render it within this area here. We have the zoom level, and the center is going to be this position. So I don't know what Uluru is. I'm going to just run this to make sure. Quick sanity check. Let's do live server. Sweet. All right, so why didn't it load correctly? Ah, I see. So in the error, there's a link that if you click it, it explains that although I have an API key, I have to enable it with the Google Maps JavaScript API. So let's do that, or let's figure out how to do that with the Google Maps or the Google API's I want to add something, right? I want to add the Google Maps JavaScript API. Can I do that here? If I go to library, enable. All right. So I had to go to library and Google Maps JavaScript API and enable it. Okay, does it work now? Yep, looks a lot better now. Cool, so Uluru is somewhere in Australia. Let's see if we can move this pointer somewhere else. How would we do that? Ooh, look, there's Hawaii. How do I get the latitude, longitude of Honolulu? Well, this is how I actually do it. I'll go to maps, google.com. Right, and let's go, let's do Manoa Innovation Center since we're already here. Manoa. Let me get closer. Let me get closer. Okay. So here, in this place where I've selected, it shows my latitude, longitude at 21, -157. So I'm going to grab that from the URL up here. And we'll see if we can move our marker to that location. Right? So latitude usually is first. And then longitude. Check our Google Map. Is there any errors? Double. Okay, so we have a pin in Manoa Innovation Center, except it's hard to actually tell. So what we probably want to do is zoom in. So our zoom level is 4, and as you can tell in the URL of our Google Maps, here, the zoom level is at 17. So I can set our zoom level to 17. You can check the documentation on the maximum zoom level. I think like 18 and 19 might be the most it has, depending on what we're using. If you're using satellite imagery or vector map. Okay, cool. So now we have a pin here. So let's see if we could use the Google Map API to add more pins. Let's see. Add a map with a marker. Cool. So using this marker, I should be able to just add more markers. I'm going to call this MIC. Okay, and I'll create marker 1. And marker 2 will be like subway or something, right? So I have a position for MIC. And a position for subway. I don't know where it is. I guess I can figure out how to make one. It would be right here, right, by Paisano. So here it's copy this. And copy this thing here. It's pretty hard to do. Whoa. I don't want that. There's obviously better ways to create markers. Here, let's see if this is different. 342. Yeah, that's different. So right. All right, so we have a second marker. We set the position to subway, and we place it on the same map, our same one map here. So we should get 2 markers in our project. Yes, we do. We have one right here. That's our marker 2. And it's a little bit too far, actually. Should have been here. All right. Well, those are the basics. So let's make this a little bit more interactive. First, I'm going to move this entire script out so we have our own source script, right? So scripts app.js. Cool. So I only need this init map, and init map is called by this the Google Map JavaScript API. You see this callback that says init map. When it's ready to render your code, then it'll invoke something called init map. So you need to have a JavaScript function called init map as a callback. So app.js. All right, so we have our init map here, our main function. I'm going to use this as a reference, though I'm going to create some new goals. Our new goals is to make the map clickable. All right, so we'll start with that. How do we do that? All right, so I know I need a map, and we'll start with that first. Okay. All right, so this is our goal, making a map clickable. I imported our source file here, and so all we have is a map container. We have our own source for our app.js, and that defines a callback called init map. Right? Let's see if that should still work. And center us at MIC. Yes, it does. How do we create a clickable event? So there's a lot of things you can do here in the JavaScript API. Right? So there's actually, under interacting with your map, there's events. So in here, it says there's UI events, lots of things you can listen for, pretty good examples. I want to be able to click on the map. So I think that's up here. Map add listener click. Oh, it's marker add listener. I want map add listener. Right. So map add listener click, place marker to pan to, and so we get latitude, longitude information from the event. Right. So let's do that. Right, so I have map add listener. Not add event listener, it's just add listener. Click, and then we get E. Right? So E is the event object, and we have a function called place marker to pan to. So that's their function. Let's use this for now. Make sure everything works here. Okay. Cool. So it's going to create a new marker at the position of the latitude, longitude from the event of where we clicked. And we get the map here, which is the same map that we're passing through our map object here. And then map.pan_to, that's another function, another method on the map object that we can do to recenter the map. So when I click somewhere, it should create a new marker, like let's create a marker at Starbucks. Sweet. Let's create let's go to Surges. Sweet. All right. That's nice. Now let's do something else. Let's make these clickable. In the documentation, it says we could have a click event on a marker. Okay, let's see what that looks like. I'm going to do that in here. This is really generic because we're creating new markers every time we click on the map. And here we're saying when you click on a marker that was added, we can set the center to the marker's position. And let's also, yeah, that's good. That should do it, right? So before, when we click on a Starbucks, click here, surges, click Starbucks. Now it brings us to that location. Let's see if we could transform this pin or do something with this marker. So there's shapes, markers. We can style the marker or something. Maybe we can add an image. There's a title. What does that do? Let's see what the title looks like. So when you click it, no. Let's just add a. Okay. Let's see what a title does. All right. So click Starbucks. Click that. Nothing. Nothing. Yeah, I didn't add a click event. It just has a title. Okay. Animate marker. Customize marker image. Label. What does label do? See, right now I'm just looking at the tutorial and the guides. I'm not looking at the actual API, which would be here. Hey, okay, it says new marker. All right, new marker, great. Let's see if we could dynamically change this label here, so that when we click it, we'll say marker dot. Can we do that? Marker dot label. That'd be nice. Oops. Okay. Alright, so let's create a couple markers. Go here, we'll go to Korean barbecue, go to Subway. Oh, Subway's here. Surges. When I click here, it should say, nope, it does not say, let's go here for lunch. It doesn't do that. I might have to go and look at the marker API. Yeah, let's do that now. Okay, where the heck is... Oh, here. So there are classes here. I'm looking for marker class. Marker place object. Marker class. There we are. Okay. So this is the navigation on the right. It's pretty weak. So what I'm looking for is a way to set like some text, right? So this is how you get some properties. Here we have set animation, set icon. Sweet, I can set icon to something. Set label, so this is probably the way I was supposed to set the label in the first place. Not direct access. I should use the setters and getters. So set label. Alright. Okay, let's see if we're able to do something like this. Subway, surges. Surges. Okay. Yes, All right, so now it's a little bit more dynamic, except we probably don't want to go everywhere for lunch. Probably just for one place. Okay, let's just do that and we'll finish this video. So I'm probably going to want to keep track of all my markers. And let's say an array. And every time we create a new marker, we will track that. So markers, push, markers, the new marker. Right, so this is the new marker here. And really, the Maps API probably has a way to track all your markers already anyway. So I'm just doing it in JavaScript land. And then when we click a marker, we will set the label. But before we do that, I'm going to iterate over every marker. So I could say markers.for each, M for marker. And so what this line is going to do is set label to nothing, right? So m.set label to just an empty string. And then set this marker to let's go here for lunch. So hopefully it clears out all the previous labels. All right, again, we got Subway, we got Surges, and we got Starbucks. Click here, nothing. Why? That's not good. It's not what I wanted. Probably have an error. Oh, because it is capital E. All right. So if I had a syntax error and it crashed before doing this, right? So just exit out of the function. Let's test that again. Here, Surges, and Starbucks, and let's go here for lunch. No, let's go here. No, let's go here. Sweet. All right, so I got a basic thing. All right, so this is kind of the process of what you would do to create your project. Definitely look. You could do so many things on the objects, right? So we have a marker object or marker class, an instance of a marker. We have a map, so we can add, add events to maps and to markers to give interactivity. And one thing that you also might want to do is feed in your own markers through a data set. So that would be back here in guides. I'm not going to do that in this video. You could follow along with the example of importing data into maps. Right? So if you have an array of data or a JSON of data and you want to feed it into your map, and it'll look like something like this. That might be something you need. And that's it. Slack me if you have any questions with implementing some experiment to kind of get more comfortable with the Maps API. Thanks.